And so all of the groomsmen, we decided we were going to get matching stallion tattoos. So I had the tattoo artist do a stencil of like 3 different stallions, choose yours. Well, all of us got so drunk that no one got a stallion tattoo except the last addition to the groomsmen. He was like a sub and make it because of the reschedule. And so he texted us the next morning, and it was just a picture of the stallion tattoo on his arm. He's like, really, guys? He was the only one that got one. And it looked awful.
The intersection of good drinks, good music, and good times. This is Hops and Spirits Bar Conversations.
I had a blast on Saturday at Railbird Fest in Lexington over at Red Mile. It was a great time. Madeline Edwards, who was on the show, kicked it off. She was amazing. Got to see Whiskey Myers, Weezer, Zach Bryan, so many outstanding artists. If you get a chance to hit up a festival this summer, I hope you take that opportunity because it's a blast. We got a blast for you this week. We talk with country artist, former Voice contestant Jay Allen. But up next, it's Tasting Notes as we continue our grilling series with Grilling and Whiskey with Chad Watson. Enjoy.
Did you know Hops and Spirits is more than just this podcast? Check out hopspirits.com for our latest episode release, past episodes, interviews with interesting folks in the alcohol industry, and so much more. Just go to hopspirits.com. Feel free to wait until this podcast is done.
Joining us once again on Tasting Notes, he seems very comfortable where he's at. You can find him as My Daily Bourbon on Instagram. He's part of the Bourbon Life crew. Welcome in, Chad Watson.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I know usually I'm in my office chair, and now I'm on this nice comfy couch at work.
I was going to say, it seems like it's a rough life these days for you.
Yeah, it's bad. It's horrible. You know, couldn't get any worse.
Yeah. Although I've heard you've had to make a few drives, which can be fun. But we're here to talk whiskey, and I think for this time of year, something that may go well with it. Some may not agree with it, but we'll find out. Grilling and whiskey, does that go together?
After my Memorial Day cooking, I'd say yes, but that was also after three beers. I had some tax man, some country boy, but I told the girlfriend, I said, go get me a glass of whiskey, and I said, don't tell me what it is, just bring it back. And I could buku that day. We made all kinds of stuff. But she brought me back some rare breed, and I'm sitting there drinking. I got because I live in an apartment complex, so it's charcoal. So I have charcoal smoke in my face, and me and this guy are chit-chatting, and I'm sipping this rare breed, and I'm like, damn, this is nice. The 3 beers were really nice, but the glass of whiskey worked really well with it. And then, especially sitting out there eating the food with it. I usually don't drink whiskey with food. I'm a cocktail kind of guy. I like whiskey on its own or with like a dessert. But something about the setting of cooking the food, having that smoky-ass smell all over me, and then sitting down eating a nice grilled burger with a glass of rare breed, like really, really hit home. It just like worked.
I like it. So what you're telling me is you can make whiskey and grilling work. Maybe pace yourself if you're near an open flame, though.
Yes. I would say don't start with 3 beers. This is over the course of like 2 hours. It was, 1 beer, 20 minutes later, another. I'm not like pounding beers. I can't do that. 3 beers is usually my limit anyway. But I totally would recommend it. Depends on what you're cooking. Now, this Sunday, we are going to be grilling steaks and pork chops on the grill and be testing maybe some low proofers. I think the problem with what I had rare breed, at 116.8 proof, and it was like 90 degrees on Memorial Day. It was pretty hot. So maybe some 80 or 90 proofers, some of your nice summer pours would be great. I'm a big fan of, like, when we go to the pool, I'll make not this size, but I'll do like a big bottle of like a pre-made cocktail, whether it be like a whiskey sour, a bourbon Rita, and I'll use lower proof stuff. Typically at home, I use higher proof in cocktails because I want it to stand out, like boozy cocktails. But for the hot days, you don't want too much alcohol because, at least for me, which is coming from the guy who just said I had 3 beers and a glass of whiskey, but I think some lower proof stuff would be nice because, it's softer on the palate. It's not going to dry you out as much. And then maybe if you want to have a little more higher proof while you're eating, go for that. But so far, my first experiment has been good.
Well, and it kind of transitions perfect into a second part of that because obviously most people, you can grill out all year, but I feel like when the weather's nicer, you kind of want to be outside a little bit more. And so is that where, like you said, maybe your summer pours come in, and what are your summer pours to you?
My summer pours to me are not necessarily 80 proofers, but your Heaven Hill products like the 1783 Evan Williams 90 proofer, soft, fruity, sweet, even your cheap bottled and bonds. Just because those aren't strong in flavor, even though they might be 90, 100 proof, they're not too hot. They're a little thin, they're watery, so they're easier to drink versus, if I like this right here, we're going to be at 91 degrees today in Lexington. And I just pulled this is a barrel sample for a tasting. It's probably 120 proof. Drinking this outside today would be like just drinking the lighter fluid to start the grill. So take your cask strength stuff, proof it down. But yeah, the Heaven Hill bottled and bond line, Russell's 10-year, big summer pour. Maker's Mark, big summer pour. Last year I wanted to start this thing where I was like, I'm going to do patio pours. I'm going to review stuff on my patio every day or like once a week. And I just kept drinking Russell's and Makers. So I was like, well, I did those two. So no need to do any more.
So what you're telling me is there's a certain sweet spot for the temperature, and then maybe if it's a little cooler as the night goes along, maybe you can break back into those higher proof pours.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The sun starts to set, the 90 goes down to about 75. You can feel the coolness in the air. You want to bring that warmth back. That's when you bring out the 120 proof stuff.
Yeah, I like it, and like you said, be smart. Mother Nature around Kentucky anyway is going to be hot. I have a feeling elsewhere it'll be hot. So now with that said, I've got a very difficult question to ask you.
Oh no.
Always neat in the summer, or do you put it over ice?
It varies. It really varies. So if 90% of the time I'm just drinking whiskey neat, straight, in a Glen. I've been really loving these baby Glens just because like this is a 1 ounce pour and it looks massive in here, but it's not much at all. Like this, realistically, this at home would take me like an hour to drink. I'm not just like a chug. But on a day like today would totally be like Elijah Craig, just the 94 proof Elijah Craig in a big ice cube and enjoy that. Or some Maker's Mark. I love Maker's Mark. Some Maker's Mark on an ice cube. Just because those are two really good profiles that like with some water and ice over time just kind of dilute down. And on a hot day, that sweetness, the caramels and butterscotches and those waffle battery notes that both of them kind of share really lend well to the water being added in the ice cube. Now, what I wouldn't do is take cask strength bourbon and put it over ice and be like, yeah, I'm watering it down, because realistically, unless your ice cubes suck or it's stupid hot outside, they're not going to melt fast enough to really make a difference, and you're still drinking a lot of alcohol on a really hot day. Stay hydrated.
Exactly. If nothing else, stay hydrated, stay smart, and like you said, try a few things, see what you like, and enjoy a little whiskey with some grilling.
Yeah, man. I've been loving it. I don't know if you've tried it yet, but you should.
Well, first I got to get better at the grill, and then I'll try it.
I'll come show you a few things.
I might need that. But Chad, I appreciate the knowledge as always.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Check out Hops and Spirits on social media at Hops Spirits, all one word, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also find Hops and Spirits on YouTube and at hopspirits.com.
Joining us here for our conversation, he's a country artist, and you might remember him from The Voice. Welcome in, Jay Allen.
Hey, Jonathan. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy man, traveling all sorts of places. But since this is Bar Conversations, I got to ask, you got a good drink tonight?
Yeah, man, I drink water every day. Make a little ultra. Got to stay hot.
I like it. I got a little stronger than water. It might be cut with water for all I know. A little minor case rye, little rye whiskey with a sherry cask finish. Now,
Nice.
Are you just a beer guy, or do you dabble in whiskey and tequila and some stuff like that?
So, man, I'm an everything guy. I'm jealous that you can drink whiskey. If I have one glass of whiskey, I'll drink the whole bottle. So I've just slowed it way down. And I kind of got tired of waking up in the morning and looking at my wife and immediately having to apologize. So I kind of just cruise on beers now. But I'm a weirdo, man. I really got into gin. I was drinking gin and tonics.
Ooh.
Yeah, and obviously, I went with Hendrix. That was the go-to. And then we were in New York City, and I ran into a gin cocktail lounge, and I was like, they asked me what I wanted or what I typically drink, so I told them Hendrix and tonics, and they're like, well, try this, and it's called Monkey 47. It's pretty much like purple Kool-Aid for alcoholics. Yeah, and I had like 5 of them, and Kylie was super mad at me. But man, I love all different types of liquors and beers. Kind of if I'm playing shows, just so I can keep a clear mind and not be an idiot on stage, I'll just drink Michelob Ultras. But we're about to drop a song, so I'm known for the story with my mother who passed away from Alzheimer's, and we have a lot of heartfelt songs, and that's really what I stand for and what I've been doing the last 5 years, being a philanthropist. But I feel like it's time to start showing the fun side of me, which I have a 5-piece band all covered in tattoos, and we have a really fun up-tempo live rock and roll show, to be honest. And so we're going to drop a song called Jello Shot. And so I don't know a soul that doesn't like Jello shots, but I've been sucking down those things for years.
Nothing wrong with that. Now, since you behave yourself and you're usually on the beer side, are you like an IPA guy, a porter guy, sour, or are you just like, if it's good beer, it's good beer?
Yeah, man. For me, it's like, there's nothing like, I kind of go through phases right now. And like I said, Michelob Ultra, I was Coors for a long time. I love a good IPA. That guy, that typical dude that shows up at a bar in a random city and asks for, what's your local IPA? That's probably me.
Hey, there are worse things to ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
and I love trying everything. I'm a yes man. I say yes to everything. So I love it all, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, and when you're traveling, I'm guessing you like to go out, maybe have a beer, check out food. Are you also into food and like checking out the local food scene, or do you even get time to do that?
Oh yeah, I'm with my manager right now, and she's apparently there's some Japanese place she wants to go see after this. So I'm waiting to see where that is. But yeah, I'm married to Kylie Morgan. She's a country artist, signed to Universal Records, has a single on the radio, crushing it. But we've always been foodies. In Nashville, it's hard now because obviously we tour full time now, so we rarely see each other, and we're rarely in Nashville. But we used to, every time a new restaurant or bar would pop up, we'd just go. Like, we got to go see it. But now there's like 10 that pop up every month. I'm like, there's no way we're going to see all those. But yeah, we're definitely food. We have time.
One for breakfast, one for lunch, one for second lunch, one for dinner.
Yeah.
Just a full day.
Yeah, and all the hot chicken. I mean, Nashville has so much hot chicken. It's ungodly.
Now, I have to ask, you mentioned being married to Kylie. Did y'all really forget your marriage license when you got married back in November?
Yes, we did. Oh my gosh, it's embarrassing, dude. Yeah, man, I remember morning of the wedding, I woke up and I looked at Kylie and I was like, no way. She goes, what? I said, we forgot to get the marriage license. We literally couldn't believe it. We're just so overwhelmed. There was so much that happened around our wedding, like, first of all, our wedding got postponed because of Hurricane Ian. And Kylie and I, we have such big hearts. We immediately started planning a Fort Myers relief concert for them. And then I was on The Voice at the time. Kylie, was pushing her single to the radio, so media kind of just jumped on our backs. And so for us, it was like, we didn't really want to make it about our wedding. We wanted to make it about how can we help these people that are family and friends to us down there in Fort Myers, So there was a lot leading up to that wedding, man. So when we finally got there, we're just like, we made it, and we forgot a key piece of information.
Well, I mean, I was going to say, like you said, it got pushed back, yet there's a lot going on. I mean, didn't you come off tour, and did she come off tour to, like, carve out a week to do this?
We both did. It was literally our only weekend available. That we ended up having to do it on a Thanksgiving Sunday because that was like a holiday available. So we literally had Thanksgiving with our entire family and all of our close friends in Fort Myers, and then had our wedding. So yeah, man, it's getting harder and harder to find time together. But like I said, we make it happen. I laid in bed with Kylie last night, and then immediately woke up this morning and left. I was like, well, I got one night in.
Hey, cherish each night, but I was going to ask too, because it's got to be, while it's difficult to do what you guys do, being in the music industry, it also has to be nice to have someone that is also in the industry and kind of understands it all, and you're both each other's biggest cheerleaders.
Yeah, man. That's what I think. That's why I don't think this would work for everyone, but it works for us because we're both wired the same. We know all the same people. We do all the same things. We travel to all the same clubs. So sometimes Kylie and I don't go. We'll go 2 days without talking to each other. Sometimes, maybe 3 days. Sometimes if it gets crazy. So it works for us. I was with someone in the past where she wasn't in the music industry, and I don't recommend that. It was painful. So yeah, man, and Kylie's just cool. This is weird to say. I'm just gonna say it. Kylie's pretty much a dude with boobs. Like she's so easy to hang out with, man, and just there's never any drama or stress. She's my best buddy, So every now and then she'll like send me a text, "Hey, remember me? I'm your wife."
Well, Evan, you got to do that to her. You can go, "Hey, remember me? I'm your husband," and just that way it's even. It's even.
Oh, I get back at her. I dig at her. We have fun. She's
now
the devil. Golly.
Now I got to ask, you guys got matching tattoos as well around the wedding time too, right? Can you talk a little bit about the meaning behind those?
Yeah, till death. So Kylie's so cool. She let me have a say in the wedding. Like I was like, really? She goes, what do you think the theme should be? And I said, we should have an all-black wedding. Because I wear all black every day. That's just who I am. And she was like, okay. I was like, well, shoot, I'm going to push a little farther. I said, well, can we have a tattoo artist? And she goes, oh, that'd be different. So she let me have a tattoo artist. And I made every single person sign waivers. And people got tattoos drunk at our wedding reception. It was hilarious. So Kylie and I knocked ours out first while the tattoo artist was still sober, thank God. But I saw pretty terrible tattoos the next morning, man. I felt bad for people. I'm like, you signed the waiver, man. It's not my fault. You knew what you're getting into. So this is like a funny thing. I call all my best buddies and like my band, like it's just a joke. I call them my stallions. It's silly. Like, what's up, stallion? And so all of the groomsmen, we decided we were going to get matching stallion tattoos. So I had the tattoo artist do a stencil of like 3 different stallions, choose yours. Well, all of us got so drunk that no one got a stallion tattoo except the last addition to the groomsmen. He was like a sub in make it because of the reschedule, and so he texted us the next morning, and it was just a picture of the stallion tattoo on his arm. He's like, really, guys? He was the only one that got one, and it looked awful.
And now he's like, I'm not gonna talk to you guys ever again. No.
Yeah, he was the only person in the entire wedding that got the same tattoo, the till death, as me and Kylie, and that was only supposed to be a tattoo for me and Kylie, the bride and the groom, and he got one too because he was so drunk. So he actually already got it covered up with another tattoo. I thought that was so funny.
So you got to be careful at weddings, especially when alcohol is involved. I've learned the hard way on that myself. Now, you also do this thing called music. When did you get into music?
Yeah, man. So super long story short, I grew up in a little town, Iowa. I haven't been back there I go back when I'm paid to go play a show, to be honest. I've been in the South now for I think 16 years. But yeah, I grew up in a little town in Iowa, and my dad owned a restaurant, and that's actually how he met my mom. He hired a waitress and got her pregnant and made me. So I grew up in this restaurant, and this couple would come in. Like I was the kid that was sitting at the bar, like as all the old guys walked in, and they would like get their coffee and get their breakfast, and they like would tell me all their dirty jokes like old men do. And I kind of grew up in this restaurant. This couple would come in and always try to invite my parents to go to church, and so my parents were like, I want nothing to do with that. And eventually they convinced them to let me go to church. So they took me to church every Sunday since I was a little kid. And we'd always have to sit in the front pew and Baptist church. And I remember I was like 7 or 8 years old, and we were singing out of hymns. And I was just a little kid with a high little voice. So I was singing all the women parts, all the female parts out of the hymn. And I remember Ron, he's a big jack farmer. He looks down at me and goes, you can sing. I'm going to put you on stage in front of everyone next Sunday. So he did, because he's a man of his word. I was terrified, trembling. I sang like an old hymn, like How Great Thou Art. Every old lady in that place stood up and clapped, and I was like, oh, I guess I can sing. That's literally how it started. And so I was actually a music director in churches for a long time and did that. And really got my heart broke over that. Learned the hard way that Santa Claus doesn't exist. And my ex at the time, I was actually previously married. I won't speak badly of her, but she basically kicked me out of the house and said, "You need to move to Nashville, otherwise you never will." And so I moved to Nashville without her, with a suitcase and a guitar. And I lived in the back of an elderly couple's house for 4 months. They let me stay there for free. They would not take rent. That is the only way that I got on my feet in Nashville, because it's so damn expensive. A beer costs $20. So, yeah, man, that's how it happened. And I just grinded and, started writing music for myself like every artist does. And then that was kind of pretty empty for me. And then my mom got sick, and I wrote a song about it out of heartache. And a lot of beautiful things have happened. Turned into a philanthropist, and figured out that music is so much bigger than ourselves, and there's power in music. And I kind of just said yes to every offer that came my way. And eventually I looked up, and we found out that I've helped raise $100 million to fight against Alzheimer's. And I'm going to announce here probably a week or two from now that I just signed a record deal, and I have a radio team and all these things now too. So I'm just like, it's starting to get wild. But
But a good while.
so many good things are happening. I'm just trying to keep up, along with my touring schedule and things like that. So,
Well, and as you talk about your mom and dad, your mom was country music, right? And your dad was a little more rock and roll.
oh yeah. Mom couldn't fall asleep at night without her little clock radio on the side of her bed playing the country radio station. I say it as a joke, but really it wasn't. I don't think my dad slept for 30 years of their marriage, because my mom had the country radio station cranked all night long. I could hear it down in my bedroom, man. It was so bad. But she's the reason why I fell in love with country music. I mean, that's all we listened to growing up. But Dad, on the other hand, the hippie through and through. I remember, the first time mullets were cool. He had a mullet, but it was so long in the back. He had like the short bangs parted, and then he had a mullet so long it was like past mullet. It was just like nasty, like, dude, like you gotta get, like, he eventually cut his hair, but he was like the original, like he was the original Morgan Wallen and Hardy, and so I remember one day, he has more tattoos than me, by the way, but they're like, I'll tell him to his face, my dad has terrible tattoos. It looks like he got him in prison. Like, I'm just like, what are you thinking, bro? He's got a whole leg tattoo. It looks like a whole garden. Like, I'm just like, what are you doing? But I remember he walked downstairs one day, and he had a jean jacket on with the collar popped, and I was 10 years old, and he had surprised me. He had a matching jean jacket for me, and he said, "Put this on, Jay." He said, "You're going to your first concert." So he rolled up the windows in his 91 Ford Bronco. It was a 91 Ford Bronco, two-tone tan. It was jacked up. And I remember we'd go mudding in that thing, and we'd stop and we'd get Mountain Dews and corn nuts. It was so funny, man. And so he rolled up the windows. We had our matching jean jackets on, and he hotboxed me all the way to my first concert. I was 10 years old, high out of my mind, and I saw Kansas opening up for Styx. And I remember everything was kind of like fuzzy, and I was really happy. I just remember fist bumping to Mr. Roboto, and that was my very first impression of rock and roll music. And I fell in love with rock. I mean, and then from there on out, it was like I obsessed over my dad's vinyl collection. That's how I learned how to play guitar. And for me, ever since, it's been everything's black and leather jackets and tattoos. And I'm known for this sentimental song from my mother, but really, I'm a rock and roll guy. So yeah, the two kind of literally made a baby, country and rock, with me. So yeah,
It's a little southern rock then.
yeah, it's like for me, I've really influenced. I'm sure you were too, by like the alt rock, like real alt rock, like late '90s, 2000s. Nirvana and Bush and Live and Matchbox. And for me, I felt like Three Doors Down was like everyone's anthem, when I was a kid. So yeah, man, it's kind of that sound brought into like the feel of a country concert. Modern country with a flair of alternative rock is really what it's become.
Well, and honestly, that sound is getting into Nashville more and more. I mean, whether it was Hardy putting Hardy putting out the kind of rock song, and a good bit of others that are making southern rock and country rock kind of a thing. I mean, what was it like when you were able to get to Nashville and kind of go into it full time?
Yeah, man. I kind of, when I choose to do something, I'm sure like you too, it's like all the way in. So it's like it took me a long time. I actually never really thought that I was going to move to Nashville. I did everything in my power not to do that. I saw like everyone go there and fail, and like I heard about that it's a 10-year town thing. I'm just like, that sounds terrible. Like 10 years before you have any success, and then all the sacrifice involved. And honestly, I never thought I'd be an artist. For me, like I grew up working on farms, a wrestler, and like singing in churches was like a hobby, like a side thing you did, or like something that like you do, play a couple songs for your girlfriend down in her bedroom and get lucky, So, just like it seemed like an impossible thing for me. So when I moved there, I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna do this, So I remember I immediately got my heart broke. I started a band, and it was called Tennessee Kings, a really cool 4-piece like Eagles thing. And we immediately like got an offer from Broken Bow Records, and I thought I'd figured it out, and kind of, I thought I, made a fool out of everyone that said it was a 10-year town. Dumb, naive kid, because the president of that label backed out about 9 months after us going back and forth with negotiations, and we'd already been set up with William Morris and management and all that. The president bailed, the band broke up, and I was like, well, shit, I'm going back home to Iowa. Because I'm like, that sucked. That was a huge blow to me. So my dumb thought process at the time was, I'm going to play one last show. So I booked a show at 3rd and Lindsley in Nashville. I'm going to play one last show, get out of my system, and then go back home to Iowa with my tail between my legs. So I remember playing this show to, like, there was a bar, and everyone had their back turned and didn't even watch me for the whole hour. I was like, cool. So I walk off.
This is a great feeling. Maybe it is time to go.
Like, all right. So I remember walking off stage, and man, I swear to God, I didn't even notice him there. But Billy Currington was like sitting on the edge of the bar on the backside with his girlfriend, and he walked over and took my hand, introduced himself, and he said, "Jay, I don't know who you are, but I just watched your whole set." And he said, "I just have a little bit of advice for you: never leave Nashville." He was in Nashville for 9 years. He worked concrete before anyone cared about him and his music. And he just said, just never leave. He said, last man standing wins. And I was like, that's the one thing I need to hear. And it kind of just pumped me up, and I've kind of had that in the back of my head ever since. Last man standing wins. For me, what that means is just never quit. If you really believe that you want to accomplish something, just even when you're like, get kicked down in the mud, just like get back up and put one foot in front of the other, and eventually good things are going to come out of it. And so I made that choice, man, and it's crazy. I started having some success. I got my first publishing deal shortly after that. That turned into me meeting a well-known producer, signed to Sony, got me a deal at Sony ATV, and then that we wrote a song called Sounds Good to Me. It was the Highway Fund on Sirius XM. Then I linked up with William Morris again the second time. I started touring full time. I started opening up for every big act you can think of. The money was absolutely terrible, but I was playing in front of like thousands of people, which was super cool. Gave me a lot of confidence and taught me a lot real quick. And then, like I said, my mom got sick, and then I realized, my real purpose for the last 6-7 years, was that, to take something that's really hard to talk about, really painful for people, and to kind of almost make it cool to talk about it. And like I said, it grew me up really quick, man, and it showed me really what you can accomplish with your gifts, no matter what that is. It doesn't have to be music, you can accomplish great things with the gifts you've been given. So that's what I've been doing, and it's been 10 years. June 13th this year will be 10 years. So it is. Well, it is a 10-year town.
It doesn't lie. There's no shortcuts for sure. And you talk about, when things kind of hit with your mom and all that, and the song that you've kind of alluded to that took off and kind of went viral and really connected with people was Blank Stares. What was that like to share that out there? Because it's not the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, so, I think for the absolute first time, during my time frame in Nashville, I wrote a song not trying to write a song for anything other than it was for me. It was I was so overwhelmed with a feeling of like heartbreak, like an out of body experience, something happens to you, whether good or bad, you know, it's kind of like watching a movie of your own self. Like you're the main character, and it's almost kind of like that. Is that really me? That can't be me. That can't be us. And so for me, it was like to kind of find an understanding of that experience. My only thought was I have to write it out. I have to get it out of my system, get it out of my heart and out of my mind. And so I actually went into Sony with a voicemail, and it was a voicemail I saved from my mother. She had called me on my birthday, and in the middle of being very, very sick. She was pretty far gone at this point. My dad put her on the phone, dialed my number, and she tried to leave me a happy birthday voicemail. And halfway through it, you could tell she was fumbling through her words, forgot why she even made the phone call, and then she hung up. Well, I kept that voicemail just to remind myself this is actually real. This is actually me and my life and my mother. We are actually going through this, and I would listen to it every day. And so when I felt like it was time to write the song, I took it to my buddy Jason Nix. So he's written some huge number ones now. He wrote a big hit for Lainey Wilson. But I took it to him, and I just played him the voicemail. And he said, "What is that?" And I told him. He goes, "Okay." I said, "Well, I just want to write a song today for my mother." And he said, "Yes, sir." So we did that, man. And it was literally two bearded dudes sitting in a room by ourselves, crying all day, writing this song, like the most human you can be, and laughing through it. And you know, we get done, and I just felt this sense of like relief, like I don't care if no one ever hears that. That was for me and for my mother. And so when you're signed to a publishing company, you turn in your songs. You have to submit them. So I turned them in, and I got a call 3 days later from Troy Tomlinson. He was the president of Sony at that time. He just straight up called me, and he said, "Jay, I'm sitting in my office right now. I'm listening to this song. I'm literally like a blubbering mess." He goes, "You don't know this, but I know what that song's about because I lost my dad to Alzheimer's. And I took care of him for the last 5 years of his life. I was his caregiver." So he said, "Buddy, make me a promise. I'm going to get this song in front of some very important people if you promise me that we'll give away every dime back towards the fight against Alzheimer's." So I said, "Yes, sir." And that's exactly what happened. And we've kept that promise ever since, man. So it's been a tough go, but like I said, I've seen something really, really hard and terrible and sad turn into something beautiful. People have found a safe place within this song, in the conversations that we've created, in the events that we've put on all around the country. They have a safe place now to talk about it. You know, it's a really, like, I'm a fun guy, so we put on this really fun show, and everyone's half drunk by the end of it. But then I kind of have like a come to the altar moment where people are just like, I even let people come on stage and tell their stories, like right in the middle of my set, you know. And I've just seen my mother's life has now left a legacy, and you know, even though she passed, like I just feel like she lives on through it. And so I'm gonna keep doing that forever. But now we're gonna start being fun again. I feel like it's time.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, it's a difficult thing for anyone to go through, and I mean, it's got to be both good and bad. You know, like it's got to be good that you're able to get that out there and share it, but at the same time, it's still a memory that you've got, and it's a tough memory at that. You know, personally, not going through Alzheimer's, but other things in life, I know what it's like when those memories get brought back up, and they're not always easy.
Yeah, man. I think that's been the hardest part about being kind of the poster boy for the National Alzheimer's Association is I have to tell this story over and over and over every day. And it used to be like a burden. You know, I used to be like, I got to do this thing all over again and walk away and wipe my eyes. And now I'm just like, you know what a joy. What an honor to get to tell this story and help others. You know, now it's become just like I take pride in it, you know. So, man, it's all good. I'm glad that it's been a focal point of my life, and I'm glad that I get to help others, you know.
Well, like you said, you made a big impact. Raised over $100 million through galas and the song and everything, and were even, I believe, named ambassador or got an award from the Alzheimer's Association.
Yeah, 2019. It was the Rita Hayworth Gala every year. That's like the big. I used to call it gala, by the way, and I got corrected really quick. I said it on the mic one time. I called it gala. Oh, gala. I was like, oh,
oops.
Shit. But the biggest one that the Alzheimer's Association puts on every year is called the Rita Hayworth Gala in Chicago, and they invited me and my entire family after my mom passed. And got on stage and told the story and did my deal and sang the song, and then they came up and surprised me and gave me the National Caregivers Award. So it's hanging on my wall next to all Kylie's little awards. So yeah, man, really proud of that.
Well, and you've kind of come full circle in the songs, and one of your most recent singles was "No Prayers, No Prayer Like Mama's." And what was it like to write and release that one?
Yeah, so that's kind of like the, talking about like putting a book into a season of my life. It's like, when I went on The Voice, it's funny talking to you about this now because we're drinking, but I'm always going to be the guy with a drink in his hand. That's just who I am. But I decided going on to The Voice. How about when I'm filming for 2 months in LA, they required that we be by ourselves. I'm a grown ass man, but I had to be trapped in a hotel room every single day. If we weren't filming, we were only allowed to leave our rooms for 10 minutes per day. It was psycho. And so I actually, I bought Kylie a blonde wig off of Amazon. I disarmed the exit door and the stairwell, and I snuck her in just so I could see my wife. But while I was there, man, I thought, finally, I chose not to drink. Just for those 2 months, 2.5 months or whatever, I'm like, I'm going to test myself and see what happens if I'm completely sober for the first time ever, which was scary. But man, I'm glad I did, because I kind of woke up and I realized, man, I can be happy. I truly believe that, for me, I'll never preach, but I will share my faith. I believe my mom did go to heaven. She's much better off than we are, and she's probably up there saying, hey, go on and be happy and live your life. Get married, go have a great career, have fun, enjoy yourself. And so I wanted to write one last thank you to her and say what I believe, and that's there's no prayer like mama's. And we'd shot a music video. It was so healing for me, and I had so much this is an end to a season type feelings. And then we're dropping a lyric video for it on Mother's Day, actually. And that's kind of the last thing that I'm going to release that's super heartfelt and heavy, to be honest. I'm really, really glad that I've gone through this season successfully. I've had a lot of naysayers. Even Kylie, someday she's been like, hey, when are you going to be done with all this? And I'm glad that I didn't listen to her, because we raised $100 million, so but now I can go on and release songs like Jello Shot, which I just played at live in the Vineyard in front of all these radio people, and I literally jumped off the stage. I'm like, y'all, you are not expecting this, but I jumped off stage. It was like spinning old ladies around, dancing. I had the whole place up on their feet. That's really who I am. So that's what y'all are gonna see from me next. We're planning the music video for Jello Shot. I'm literally gonna take the artwork is gonna be me in a hot tub filled with Jello shots. I'm gonna send it, bro. I am so ready to have a good time.
Is that when Kylie's going to go, wait a minute, can we go back to, can we rewind a little bit? Can you calm down?
She might. She's a wild one, too. I don't know. I can't keep up with her some days. I'm like, are you okay? But yeah, man.
Okay. Well, hey, nothing wrong with having a little energy, and you also, one of the most recent songs you released, that you mentioned, Three Doors Down being one of your favorite bands growing up on. You got to cover Here Without You. How fun was it to kind of do that as well and share that side of you?
Yeah, man. So it's always I think it's scary to really cover. That's the first time I've done that, and that was actually my producer's idea, Michael Wilshire. I got to talk up Michael real quick. He's been working on the Jason Aldean record with Michael Knox, tracking all the BGBs and helping with that. So, but him and I have become friends over the years. He called me and he's like, dude, he goes, this is not a huge career move, but I just feel like you should, show people that rock side of you. What if you did a cover of Here Without You? And I was like, oh my God, literally one of my favorite songs of all time. So we went in to track it and we changed it a little bit. And I'm like, what if we made it a little faster? And what if we changed the key? And we did, and we put pedal steel on it to make it a little country. And man, we play that acoustic, just me and my guitarist. My guitarist literally a couple nights ago, we were where were we at? Manassas, Virginia. This dude straight up takes off his shirt, and then we play Here Without You, just acoustic. It doesn't matter the age, man. They can be 19, they can be 69. They're all singing it. Everyone knows that song. It's so awesome. So I'm glad we put it out there, man. It's one of my favorite songs. Probably my first big breakup. That I probably sang that every day driving to school.
Well, hopefully now it's just a fun one to sing. And you mentioned being on The Voice, and I know with any reality TV show there are pluses and minuses, but how impactful was it to kind of just show a different side of you and maybe show other people just a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, man. I mean, first of all, I can tell everyone this now since I'm out of contract, but The Voice called me every year for 5 years. They asked me to come on the show, and I always kind of thought it was silly, to be honest, so I politely declined. Then they called me last year, and I was like, man, I really feel like I've taken this as far as I can on my own. What better way to put more eyes and ears on what I'm doing than to go on The Voice? And so I took the phone call from the casting agency. I said, I'll do it this time, but promise me you'll let me sing this song and tell my story in a beautiful way. And they said yes. So I was the only one they allowed to sing an original song on the show last year, which was really cool. And after I got through the blind audition and they let me do that, I was like, I'm done. Like, I literally was just like, let me out. Like, that's all I wanted. It was on the premiere on the first night. Like, it blew up my socials. Like, it just, I got a phone call from the head of the label. And when I came off the show, and that's literally what got me a record deal, man. Like, you can tell people who you are, like what I did with Alzheimer. You can try to prove to people who you are through words till you're blue in the face, but no one gets it until you show them. So me going on The Voice showed people that I'm a real artist, and I kind of just tried to bring that and show that off, and I felt like they did a good job. So it's literally what got me a record deal. That's crazy.
Hey, every break is different, and it's still the break you need. And you've also kind of gotten some honors recently. Music Mayhem 2023 Artist to Watch, 2022 Country Now Awards favorite competition contestant. What's it like to, again, like you said, you're getting seen and people are recognizing you, and you're getting some honors and some recognition?
Yeah, man, that's obviously a good feeling. I feel like I've been such a support act for my wife really the last few years. Kylie told her mom when she was 12, I'm going to skip college and move to Nashville to be a country singer. And so she's only had her mindset on that her whole life, and just to see her accomplish those goals has been awesome. To see her to receive the rewards and recognition she has been awesome. I just never saw myself, I really honestly never saw myself getting recognized as an artist. For me, it's been philanthropy, fight for Alzheimer's and play every show sent your way. So for people to even, put me in the lights at all, I'm just like, man, I don't know if I believe that I deserve that, but, thank you, so we're going to run with it. Every time, I feel like for me, if I'm going to be an artist, every time a light is pointed on me, it's my duty to point it on something else, so that's what we're trying to do. So if anyone ever, gives me any sort of award, I'm going to try to point it towards something for good. So hopefully I'm doing that.
Well, I was going to say, I think so far so good. And you touched on this earlier. You got Jello Shot coming out. Obviously, you've released some other songs. I'm guessing more new music on the way.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be all fun, all bangers, man. Yeah, we're bringing back that FGL sound. Everything's just big drums and guitars. And yeah, I'm so pumped to show off that side. So we're having fun in the studio working on music, and the music video is going to be nuts. I just saw the treatment for the music video. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going to be hilarious. I can't wait to show it off.
And obviously when you're in the studio, I mean, singles are one thing, but is the goal eventually an EP, an album? What's the ultimate kind of hope here that you can tell me and not get yourself in trouble?
Yeah, I'll get in trouble. Yeah, so obviously the goal is to release as much music as possible. I signed a couple year long deal, so I have time. So if a single takes off, we'll really lean in on that and just focus on that and push that uphill. But the goal is to release like a 5 or 6 pack, EP, towards fall, the end of the year, and then start working on a record as we're dropping singles. It's kind of the path, I think, for a lot of artists. It's really smart. So I'm hoping we have just some success on one, and I can focus on that for a while. But I have a handful lined up, ready to rock when the time is ready.
And then, obviously, like I said, by the time this actually drops, we'll literally be at the halfway point, and I'll also be wishing you a happy birthday, I think, as well. Man,
what crazy timing. That's crazy, yeah.
So
June 6th is D-Day. And it's my best friend's birthday. That's how we met, too.
So obviously we'll be like at the halfway point of the year, or close to it. What's the rest of 2023 look like, and what are you hoping to get out of it?
So I signed a deal with APA, a booking agent in town. They're awesome. They represent rock acts too, that's kind of what they're known for. Like my agent, Jeff Hill, he represents Nickelback and 50 Cent. So they got a new office in Nashville, and they're trying to break into the country scene. So I thought that'd be a good fit for me, and he's a great guy. So signed on with him, and he's kind of pitching for the fences. So if we have some luck with Jello Shot, the goal is to like get on a big tour. We pitched for the Brantley Gilbert Nickelback tour, and I was close to getting it actually. But there's a kid that's with Brantley Gilbert's management company that they picked for that. So we're kind of swinging for the fences and hoping to get a really unique like country mixed with rock act tour. And then I just brought on a new manager, Stacy Stavola. So we're working hard to book out. My year is already slammed with shows. I'm literally the weekend warrior, gone every weekend. And then I have a wife that demands a lot of me too. So I'm literally just not sleeping and playing lots of shows. And we have an awesome PR team that we're working with, Aristo now, and they're kicking butt. So shooting music videos, and man, it's a wild life. So yeah, I'm trying not to lose friends along the way, and I'm trying to make sure my dog remembers me.
Well, I was gonna say your dog, your wife, your house. Make sure you know how to get back to it, and things will work out.
Man, I just came home because I hadn't been home for a minute. I came home yesterday, and the air was out. I was like, oh no. Here we go. But
here's the question though: would Kylie trust you to try to fix that, or is she making a phone call?
So I set it up, and Kylie's home today. Then I meet her tomorrow night in LA. So I was like, baby, literally, here's the number. I'm going to be on a plane and can't call him. Here's the number. Here's what you say. Here's the money. Just do it for me, please. So, yeah, it sounds like we got it set up. Sounds like we're good, but we'll find out.
Well, I know one thing. You're making some good music. I can't wait to hear the next a little bit of music, the little more rock side of Jay Allen, because it sounds like there's going to be some good tunes coming out of there. And Jay, thanks for sharing a drink with me.
Yeah, brother. Thanks for having me on, Jonathan.
Find more from Hops and Spirits at hopspirits.com.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.